In this lesson, we are going to multiply and divide polynomials. We will be using the product and the quotient rule. So let's get started. When we multiply a polynomial, we are simply applying the distributive property. We will also be using, as we said, the product rule for exponents. Remember, when you are multiplying like bases, you add the exponents to get your final result. So for example, if we have x to the third times x squared, we really have x to the fifth because we have x times x times x times two more x's, so that gives us x to the fifth. So let's get started. Here we have a monomial and we are multiplying it by a trinomial. So we're going to distribute the 2x to each term. So I'm going to multiply 2x times 3x squared. 2 times 3 is 6. X to the first times x squared is x to the third. Now we're going to multiply the 2x times minus 8x. The 2 times the 8, and that's a negative 8, is negative or minus 16. And then the x times the x gives us x squared. And then lastly, the 2x times 9 gives us the 2 times 9, and it's positive, is 18x. Okay, now let's take a look when we have a binomial times a binomial. So every term is going to be multiplied by the other term. So we will first start out distributing the 6x to the 2x and then the 5, and then we will distribute the -1 to the 2x and the 5. And then we'll see if we need to combine like terms. So we have 6x times 2x, that's 12x squared. Then we have 6x times 5, that's plus 30x. So we're finished with the 6x. Now let's distribute -1. -1 times 2x, and now -1 times 5. Now we see that we can combine these middle terms, and we have 12x squared plus 28x minus 5. Let's look at our third example. This is 4x plus 8 quantity squared, which means we have to write 4x plus 8 out twice. We're multiplying 4x plus 8 times 4x plus 8. Don't think you can just square this term and this term. We have to write the binomial twice. And now we're going to do the same as we did before. We're going to distribute the 4x. We get 16x squared, and then 4x times the 8, that gives us positive 32x. So we're finished with the 4x. Now we distribute the 8. 8 times 4x, and 8 times 8, and everything was positive here. We're going to combine our linear terms. So we have 16x squared plus 64x plus 64. So remember, when you're combining like terms, you combine things that are the same and you do not change what they are. If you have x's and you add more x's, you still have just x's. Don't change the variable or the exponent. Okay, let's take a look at these two binomials. Same process. 5x times 5x gives us 25x squared. And then 5x times minus 9 is negative 45x. Now we're going to distribute the positive 9. We get positive 45x. And then 9 times negative 9 is minus 81. So what do you notice about the two middle terms? We get 0. So you don't write 0, you just leave it blank. You just don't write anything for your linear term. They canceled out, and then we have minus 81. So now we ended up with a binomial. This is a quadratic binomial. Okay, now this one we have a binomial times a trinomial. So we're going to multiply the 3x times these three terms, and then the -4 times these three. Same process. So 3x times 2x squared is 6x to the third. 3x times -x is -3x squared. 3x times 7 is plus 21x. Now let's distribute the -4. We get -8x squared. Then -4 times -x is plus 4x. And then we have a -4 times the 7, we get -28. And we have one cubic term. We have two quadratic terms. We have two linear terms. Notice I include the operation in front of the term, so that's plus 25x minus 28. So we have a cubic polynomial. Okay, pause the video, you try these. When we come back, we will go over them together. Okay, so we have this monomial times this trinomial, so we get 3x times 4x squared, 12x to the third, minus 18x squared, plus 6x. So we have a cubic trinomial. Here we have a binomial times a binomial. We're going to have 24x squared plus 12x minus 42x minus 21. We're going to combine the two middle terms, our linear terms. We're getting a minus, and that's going to give us 30x minus 21. We have a quadratic trinomial. Again, you have to write this out. We'll write it here. We have 7x minus 2. We have two of those being multiplied. We have 7x times 7x, that's 49x squared, negative 14x. Now we're going to distribute the -2, and then we get a positive 4. Our two middle linear terms combined together gives us minus 28x plus 4. And one more binomial times a binomial. We have 64x squared plus 24x, and now the -3, and then we get -9. Notice our two middle terms cancel out, leaving us with no linear terms. We have a quadratic binomial. Okay, when we divide a polynomial by a monomial, every term in the numerator must be divisible by that denominator. And we will be applying the quotient rule when we are dividing. We will subtract exponents. You also need to note that the number of terms in your original polynomial will equal the number of terms in your final answer. So if you are dividing a monomial into a trinomial, you'll end with a trinomial. So let's take a look at this one. Here we have a trinomial, and we're dividing it by this monomial. First of all, we need to see that if 4 can go into each of these and x can divide into each of those, so we're good to go. Now, I like to show it this way just to make sure we don't miss anything. So we're going to have a minus, and then we have 16x. I'm just breaking my terms up. They all have the same denominator. And then we're just going to divide each term. So in this one, 24 divided by 4 is 6. X to the 6th divided by x to the 1st gives us x to the 5th. Then we have minus. 16 divided by 4 is 4. X to the 4th divided by x to the 1st is x to the 3rd. You notice everything's going down by a degree. And then plus. Now don't think, oh, I can just cancel that and there's nothing there. No, anything divided by itself is 1. And remember, we started with a trinomial. We're going to end with a trinomial. Okay, Our next problem, again, we're just going to write each of these terms out. We're going to make sure that each can be divided by our 6x. And with your variables, this variable has to have at least this number of variables like x's. So this is x to the third. It has to have at least one x, and it does. So x can go into x to the third, x squared times. So this variable, x1, it has to be either equal to your monomial down here or greater. So 6 can go into each of these, and our x's are all either equal to x to the 1 or greater. So here we go. We're going to divide our coefficients, and we get negative 6 x to the 7th minus 2x to the third plus 4x squared. We started with a trinomial, we ended with a trinomial. Okay, pause the video, you try these, and when we come back, we will go over them together. Okay, on number 1, let's write out each term. Plus 24x to the 4th divided by 3x squared minus 3x squared divided by 3x squared. Okay, so 3 can go into, is divisible by each of these. And this exponent 2 is either equal or less than these, so we're good to go. So we have a negative 6x to the 4th, 6 minus 2, plus 24 divided by 3 is 8. We have x squared minus, again, this doesn't cancel, it's a minus 1. And our last one here, 4x to the third minus 12x squared plus 8x, all divided by negative 4x. So we have 4 divided by negative 4, so we have negative 1x squared. We have a negative divided by negative, so that is plus. That's going to give us 3x. And then we have minus 2.